Hello, everyone. So, I'm looking at a busy work day ahead, and which means I'm just going to get started with the highlights today. And here we go. Let's start. The first one from Choose Possibility. In fact, the riskiest career choice of all might be the one that seems safest, not moving at all. The German poet Goethe, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. The German poet Goethe put it well when he said, "The dangers of life are infinite, and among them is safety." I think this highlight tells me about action, that how you always need action in your life, and not just any action, deliberate action, aimed towards some progress, something towards what you want. Not progress for progress's sake. You need to know what you want. You need to identify what's not working for you right now, and you move. And like, just to be clear, I think it's quite obvious that career choice, moving in a career choice doesn't necessarily mean changing a job. It could also mean finding a new position. So this highlight is sorry, this quote at the end of it is it's quite poignant for me. The dangers of life are infinite, and among them is safety. So yeah, with that, let's move on. The molecule of more. The farther away you get, the easier it is to tolerate some degree of harm in the service of the greater good. Distance insulates politicians from the immediate consequences of their decisions. Right. So this book is about dopamine, right? And dopamine acts at a distance. It's so when you get some distance, that's when dopamine kicks in, which means that highly dopaminergic individuals, they like to think of things at a distance. So rather than thinking of individuals, you're looking at a group of individuals, a group of people, and that's where you start to think of an abstract notion of greater good. So the difference between these views between highly dopaminergic people and people with with strong HNN circuits is comes down to this. How you deal with things at a distance, and the effects are kind of manifested over here. Excuse me. The effects are kind of manifested over here, that um, people who are highly dopaminergic, they would prefer to think of things in terms of distance. They're not able to process individuals up close. It's not their comfort zone, really. That's not what gives them the motivation, or it's not what gives them the desire to keep working on a problem. So they would put problems in terms of um, in abstract groups, which means that you further get away from your problem space. And in that case, it is easy to tolerate some degree of harm in the service of greater good. So there is a lot more to this chapter, a lot more nuance over here, and what does this mean? In terms of how dopaminergic people deal with, for example, collateral damage in the service of greater good, and how people with strong HNN react to these kind of things. So politicians is a special class mentioned over here because um, either side of the line, any kind of politician, they have to be highly dopaminergic to survive in the political game. So it's kind of an interesting discussion all around. We'll move on for now. Everyday chaos. As one piece of evidence for this presentism, as he calls it, Rushkoff points to our impatience with stories. I'm not recalling what this presentism refers to. Impatience with stories refers to how we don't have patience with stories anymore. For example, um, I can't tolerate movies longer than 2 hours anymore. I need to take a break. Even if it's a good movie, I need to take a break. Which means that if the movie is longer than 2 hours, I'll strongly reconsider going to a cinema to watch it. I would just wait for it to be available at home, and then I can watch it in 5 sittings if I need to. Yeah, so that's what impatience with stories refers to, but presentism I can't recall, so I'll move on. The earned life. The emotional lift we get from an earned reward is fleeting. Happiness leaks out of us from the first second we are aware of it. We get a long sought promotion, and with alarming haste, we raise our sights to the next rung on the ladder, as if we are already dissatisfied with what we worked so hard to earn. We campaign for months to win an election, then, after a quick celebration, immediately have to get to work for the voters. The striving is over, a new striving begins. Whatever prize we have earned, a big race, partnership, an ecstatic review, our victory dance is brief. Our sense of fulfillment and happiness simply doesn't last. So, yeah, this is quite elaborate, and I don't feel I need to talk about this. It's elaborate. There are enough examples and everything. The only thing that's kind of mirrors to me is our discussion with the molecule of more. It's really like this is the dopamine's realm. There's always more. There is this time that okay, during victory, dopamine and HNN circuits align. They work together, but that's only for a brief moment. And like this highlight says, our victory dance is brief. That's a brief moment when you're victorious. But dopamine always kicks over and says, more, always more. It just needs more. There's no other equation that satisfies it. So yeah, that's what I relate to over here. Moving on. Why has nobody told me this before? Our mood is not fixed and it does not define who we are. It is a sensation we experience. It's a new book, I've kind of put it aside for now. And so this is in the beginning, obviously. I've just started reading it. And it says that, yeah, mood is not something biological. It's not fixed. It's a sensation, it's a feeling. And feelings are complex. You have a lot of sensory inputs and a lot of reactions to those inputs within your body. And that's what defines your mood. But yeah, it's just saying that in this highlight. And of course, like the book goes on to discuss that, okay, yeah, so don't let mood define you. I mean, of course, in a much more elegant way than what I'm saying right now. It's good so far, but I put it aside and I'm going to pick it up again. But we'll move on now. The earned life. In the end, an earned life doesn't include a trophy ceremony. The reward of living an earned life is being engaged in the process of constantly earning such a life. Yeah, the concept of earned life is not that okay, you reach a milestone or you reach that finish point and now you can relax. It's not that. It's an it always needs that action of doing, constantly earning that life. And there is a lot more in the book that covers this notion, but yeah, I think for this highlight, it's at least, yeah, this is what it is. Moving on. Think again. Psychologists have long found that the person most likely to persuade you to change your mind is you. You get to pick the reasons you find most compelling, and you come away with a real sense of ownership over them. So, again, this is quite straightforward, but this kind of mirrors with what I've read in this book, Get It Done. And, the to find motivation, like as discussed in that book, to find motivation, the idea must come from within, not from outside. So, for example, even if you agree with an idea, even if you were considering that idea before, but just because somebody told you to work on this idea, it's coming from externally, even though you had agreed with it initially, and even though you still agree with it, you won't find the motivation because now it has come from an external realm. So this to me, it's kind of like a lesson in managing as well. If I'm likely to motivate my team, if I want to motivate my team, I have to find ways so that they come up with the ideas in alignment with the larger organization vision. That's what's important over here, and like that's how they'll be invested in working on the idea. Convincing, in the moment, convincing your team with your idea is easy, but there won't be any lasting impact with that. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's move on. The infinite game. Process is great for managing a supply chain. Procedure helps improve manufacturing efficiencies. Ethical feeding, however, is a people problem. And counterintuitive though it may seem, we need people, not paperwork, not training, not certifications to fix people problems. So ethical feeding refers to, I'm not getting a good example right now, but ethical feeding refers to, how over time you start taking your you start taking, like, I mean, we start taking things lightly. We're not a stickler for rules. As in, if something has to be done in a proper sequence of steps, we might kind of skim over one or two of them. Important ones they may be, but we may think that oh, these are not important, and we skim over that. Or even worse, we like it could even be reflected in loss of integrity, not just a loss of productivity or efficiency, but in a loss of integrity as well. So the author makes a point that this is a people problem, and throwing policies or processes at it will have limited effect. People will always find a way around the policies or procedures and everything. So process is great for managing things like supply chain and manufacturing efficiencies and all of that. But for people problems, you need people to fix them. That's the point of this highlight. We'll move on. The molecule of more. The activists identified a number of key issues, including problems with autonomy, lack of environmental mastery, complex interpersonal relationships, and high self criticism. These are challenges that would be most difficult for highly dopaminergic individuals who need to feel in control of their environment and often have difficulty navigating complex human relationships. I think this refers to a study, but I can't recall what this is about. I think I'll need to go back to this. Problems around autonomy, lack of. Yeah, I think I'll have to move on. As the man thinketh. Your wishes and dreams will only come true when they are in harmony with your thoughts and actions. Okay. Right. I think it's straightforward. I don't know what I can say to this. But and that's the end of the highlights today, and that's about it for today. Yeah. Then there's nothing else to say. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.